The Mazda CX-3 debuted in 2015 and has only had a significant facelift once in 2018. It still looks attractive, even the oldest examples, and adheres to the unwritten JWM rule, a recipe for many years of trouble-free operation. J for Japanese, W for naturally aspirated, and M for manual transmission. Although not all examples are like that.
What kind of car is it, and who is it for?
Mazda's small crossover measures 4,275 millimeters in length with a compact 2,570 millimeters wheelbase. Despite this, it doesn't offer much rear space. The front seats won't be comfortable for taller people, and its trunk capacity is limited to 350 liters. The driving position and the user-friendly, fully analog cockpit are certainly worth appreciating, though the build quality isn't up to par with the price. The plastics are hard and can vibrate while driving. There are also some minor fit and finish issues. The cabin soundproofing is also disappointing. Nevertheless, the first impression is good, and that's what counts. The car's design is simple, based on the Mazda 2, yet it's still a pleasure to drive. McPherson struts are used in the front with a torsion beam in the rear. In the four-wheel drive version, the rear suspension is very similar. There are no structural changes. The AWD system uses a standard clutch that engages the rear wheels when needed. The steering system is electrically assisted, and there's no shortage of driving assistance systems, especially in facelifted models. The Mazda CX-3 is a stylish and eye-catching car, but rather simple and technically unremarkable. It offers average utility, but everything is nicely packaged and further enhanced by the image of exclusivity that Mazda has long strived to exude. The truth is, if it weren't for its styling, the car wouldn't stand out from cars from 15 years ago. Who is this car for? Primarily for singles or couples, as it's not suitable for families. A car for city driving and the surrounding area, not for long journeys, where it can be tiring due to poor soundproofing and short seat cushions. Undemanding, but always efficient and gets the job done.
What engines were installed?
The engines also underwent changes during the facelift. New for 2018 was a 1.8-liter diesel engine, replacing the smaller 1.5-liter unit. The 2.0-liter petrol engine underwent only cosmetic technical changes to adapt it to the higher emission standard. Thanks to its naturally aspirated design and large capacity, it did not require a particulate filter. Like the diesel engine, it did not require an SCR system with AdBlue to purify exhaust gases from nitrogen oxides. A defining characteristic of the CX-3, like many other Mazda models, is its moderate performance. The petrol variant, generating 120, 121, or 150 horsepower, is the only one that can be called reasonably dynamic, but it requires revving. Acceleration to 100 kilometers per hour takes less than 10 seconds with the automatic transmission and just under 9 seconds with the manual. The difference between 150 horsepower and 120 horsepower is barely perceptible, as the 150 horsepower version has standard four-wheel drive, which takes away some of the dynamics. Diesels are simply adequate, though not for everyone. The early 1.5 engine developed 105 horsepower, while the later 1.8 only 115 horsepower. Interestingly, torque is the same for both engines, at 270 Newton-meters. Both diesels were paired with automatic or manual transmissions, as well as optional AWD. Despite the subjective impression of better dynamics, the diesel engine's performance is significantly inferior to the petrol engine. Which engine to choose? In my opinion, the choice should primarily be based on fuel economy. Diesels consume less, and the king of economy is, of course, the older one with a manual transmission. Getting below 5 liters per 100 kilometers is no problem. A larger diesel will use just over 5 liters per 100 kilometers, while gasoline engines should expect fuel consumption around 7 to 8 liters per 100 kilometers. With an automatic, you'll need to add about a liter to these figures. AW won't have a significant impact on the results. If you're happy with the fuel economy of a gasoline engine, there's no need to hesitate. The 2.0 is the most reliable power source, and the engine itself is already very well known to mechanics from independent garages. For them, Mazda diesels are still inventions and will remain so for a long time. Considering potential repair costs, diesels will be significantly more expensive, although parts for gasoline engines are mainly available at authorized service centers. I would only recommend a diesel to people who absolutely want one, or are indifferent to it and can find a nice one at a good price. Otherwise, I advise opting for the petrol engines. Manual or automatic? Of course, it all depends on your preferences, but if you're indifferent, I'd recommend the manual. It's a fantastic transmission with a fantastic shift mechanism. It's smooth and incredibly precise. Plus, a car with a manual transmission uses less fuel. The automatic transmission is a typical Mazda design with a torque converter and a lockup converter. It has 6 speeds and shifts smoothly, but not particularly quickly. It's a very good choice for those who don't like shifting gears, although they can thanks to a manual mode. Mazda CX-3, front-wheel drive or four-wheel drive? If you don't really need four-wheel drive, skip it. It's efficient and reliable, but why complicate a simple car? More moving parts, more places for play or vibration, more oil to change. The Mazda CX-3's AWD system operates quickly and responds to the first signals from wheel speed and G-force sensors without waiting for actual front axle slippage. The traction control system locks individual wheels, which is less effective. This is symbolic, so don't count on off-road capabilities, and rather overcome obstacles with momentum and throttle than with technical maneuverability. Typical faults. The Mazda CX-3 enjoys a reputation for reliability and a lack of major issues. Unfortunately, like other models, it also has a reputation for being fragile, and that's a fact. The thin paintwork is very delicate and vulnerable to even minor abrasions or stone chips. Additionally, it's crucial to look for solid corrosion protection on the chassis. Worse still, the body panels can corrode, especially the wheel arches, which were originally mounted with double-sided tape. When you see a peeled-off wheel arch with tape underneath, it doesn't necessarily have to be a dealer's hand. Users often wonder what's hidden under the plastic wheel arches and prefer not to look there. After purchasing a car, it's worth taking it in for maintenance. Minor electrical problems, such as those with the fuel gauge or the mirror folding mechanism, occur quite rarely but recurringly. They usually resolve on their own. Users occasionally complain of knocking sounds in the front suspension area and intermittent resistance in the steering wheel. This is a manufacturing defect, affecting not the suspension itself, but the steering column. Some customers are able to replace it under warranty or as a gesture to loyal customers, but be aware that such a replacement can cost several thousand euros. Overall, the Mazda CX-3 is mechanically excellent, so in that respect, it's 100% Japanese and won't cause you any problems. You just have to be careful with US models, which may have been flooded and are more prone to electrical problems. If you're considering buying such a car, it's worth checking its history thoroughly. Operating costs. The cost of running this car is low, but servicing is quite expensive. However, the latter aspect should be considered in light of the frequency of problems, which is very low. A once-a-year service at an authorized service center is unlikely to break the bank. Furthermore, it will increase the vehicle's value, and establishing a relationship with an authorized service center can be a valuable bargaining chip for a good discount in the event of a major fault, such as the aforementioned column defect. For this reason, it's worth buying a car that has been regularly serviced at an authorized service center. It's important to realize that repairs to this car aren't cheap when you need to buy an original part. On the other hand, you'll rarely have to do this. Due to the high cost of Mazda services and, above all, the limited supply of replacement parts, a growing trend has emerged: theft and sale of Mazda cars based on parts. Mazda doesn't share its technology with any other brand, nor does it borrow from others. Therefore, many components are only available at authorized service centers or from used parts dealers. A major advantage of the car is its simple design, dating back to before the era of near-complete digitization. This means that, with the right skills, you can replace almost any part yourself, without programming it before starting. Mazda CX-3 engines operate on very low viscosity oils, up to 0W20, although 5W30 viscosity is also acceptable. During a change, approximately 4.2 liters of oil are required for a gasoline engine. A diesel engine, regardless of the variant, requires 5.1 liters of oil. It's worth remembering to change the oil in the transmissions, both automatic 3.3 liters and manual 1.7 liters, as well as the transfer case 0.4 liters if you buy the AWD version. At least once every 100,000 kilometers, you should change the oil in the rear differential. This won't be an expensive operation, as the change requires about 0.35 liters. Tires on the Mazda CX-3 are standard 215/60ths R16 or optional 215/50ths R18, or less frequently 215/55ths R17. High-quality tires in the smaller size will cost around €500, 600, but good ones can be had for around €400 each. Other sizes don't differ significantly, at most by a few dozen euros each. It's important to remember to insure your car against theft if you live in a large city or travel frequently. A good and cheaper alternative might be installing a decent anti-theft system.